It was a cold Tuesday afternoon, the kind where the air feels heavy, and every step seems just a little slower. The sun was beginning to dip behind the horizon, casting a soft golden glow over the quiet streets. Most people were heading home from their daily routines, eager to retreat to the warmth of their homes after a long day. But for one elderly woman, her day was far from over. Maggie, in her mid-70s, had lived in the same apartment building for the last 25 years. Her life had always been simple, quiet, peaceful, and filled with small routines that brought her comfort. Every Tuesday, like clockwork, she would walk to the local grocery store. The walk was long, but it was one of the few times during the week that she left her apartment, and she cherished it. Today, however, was different. As Maggie made her way back with a cart full of groceries, her body felt heavier than usual. Her knees were aching, and each step seemed to take more effort than the last. The bags, too, felt as if they were getting heavier. Her arms, once strong and able, were no match for the weight of the groceries today. She had always prided herself on being independent, but now, with every step, she began to feel the crushing weight of time. It was hard to admit to herself, but she couldn't carry them any longer. Maggie paused for a moment, looking up at the street ahead. It wasn't far to her apartment, just a few blocks, but today, it felt like miles. She leaned against a lamppost to steady herself, the shopping bags digging into her arms as she tried to catch her breath. Her heart was racing, but not from exertion. It was the fear that, perhaps, she wasn't as capable as she used to be. The world around her seemed to be moving faster than she could keep up with. As she struggled with the bags, a figure approached her from the other side of the street. He was walking quickly, his expression focused but not hurried, as if he knew exactly where he was headed. The man, wearing a simple jacket and jeans, had a presence that was impossible to ignore. Jason Statham. Maggie had seen him in movies, of course. His face was familiar to her, but this was no movie scene. This was real life. The kind of real life where you have to carry your own groceries and fight back the weight of your years. Jason was a man in motion, his every step purposeful, yet his gaze softened as he noticed her struggling with the bags. For a moment, he hesitated, unsure whether to approach a stranger, but he saw the look on her face and knew something was wrong. "Are you okay?" Jason asked, his voice calm, yet full of concern. Maggie looked up at him, her eyes flickering with a mix of surprise and hesitation. I'm fine," she replied weakly, trying to smile despite the strain on her face. "Just a little heavy, that's all." Jason glanced down at the bag she was clutching, and without saying another word, he stepped forward. "Let me help you with that," he said, reaching for the bags in her arms. Maggie didn't protest. She knew she couldn't carry them any longer. As he lifted the bags effortlessly, Maggie felt a rush of gratitude. She hadn't realized just how much she had been holding on to, both physically and emotionally. She had always been fiercely independent, but in this moment, with the weight of the bags transferred to someone else, she felt a strange sense of relief. The pressure that had built up inside her over the years, the quiet battle she fought with age, seemed to lighten. She looked up at him, still not quite believing that Jason Statham, the action star, was standing there, helping her with her groceries. "Where are you headed?" Jason asked as he adjusted the bags in his arms, his voice gentle and reassuring. "My building is just up the street," Maggie replied, pointing towards the apartment complex at the end of the block. Jason nodded and began walking with her, the sound of their footsteps blending with the quiet of the evening. They didn't speak much during the walk. Maggie was content to simply share the moment, feeling the weight of the world shift as Jason carried the groceries for her. For the first time in a long time, she didn't feel so alone. As they reached her building, Jason stopped at the entrance and handed her the bags. "Here you go," he said, a small smile tugging at his lips. "Thank you," Maggie said softly, her voice filled with emotion. "I didn't expect." "You don't have to thank me," Jason interrupted. "We all need help sometimes." He met her eyes, and for a brief moment, there was an unspoken understanding between them. A recognition that time had a way of creeping up on everyone, no matter how strong they were. Maggie smiled, feeling something inside her shift. You know, she said, her voice a little shaky, I used to be the one helping people. It's hard to admit, but I guess I'm getting older. Jason looked at her with a warmth in his eyes that wasn't the kind of expression you'd expect from a movie star. Getting older doesn't mean you stop living. It just means you get wiser. Maggie chuckled, her heart lightening. I think you're right, she said. I've spent too much time thinking I can do everything on my own. Jason nodded. You're strong. But don't be afraid to let others share the load now and then. As he turned to leave, Maggie stood there for a moment, watching him walk down the street. She felt a sense of peace settle over her, as if something had been unlocked that she hadn't known was even there. For the first time in a long while, she didn't feel the weight of her age so heavily. Maybe, just maybe, it was okay to ask for help when the world felt too heavy. And as Jason Statham disappeared into the evening light, Maggie was left standing there with a smile on her face, knowing that sometimes the smallest, most unexpected moments could have the greatest impact.